When I think of leadership, I use John's definition. It's influence, the ability to influence someone. That can be for good, that can be for bad, you can be manipulative, it can be positive, but when you come from a place of authenticity and genuine, it's influence. And my leadership brand or style, I would say, is continually evolving. If we go back to where I started, I've always been in sports, and I love being a part of sports. I'm naturally wired to build relationships. I love being on stage. I love just being around people. Now, that the extreme of that is I fear rejection. And so it's funny how I love to be around people, but if my headspace is in a bad place, I'll avoid people because, well, what are they going to think about me? But bringing it all the way back, it's been an interesting natural progression for me I would say I was a natural born leader. Like, I had skills, but I wasn't the person that studied it. And so I learned it and developed it through experiences.
Okay.
And then when I went into my job, it was actually going into probably a very poor position that didn't align with a lot of my skills and abilities. And over time, seeing and reflecting back how wrong of a situation, wasn't bad, but an inappropriate or misaligned situation caused me to really jump to a new opportunity.
Okay.
And my leadership has really evolved through all of that.
Yeah, and it seems to me that your approach to leadership is really focused around authenticity and realness, which is creating vulnerability, but also puts you in that scope of rejection. And that kind of links to a conversation that we had earlier this week. If we want to really go deep real early into the podcast,
why not?
We were talking about imposter syndrome, and you're probably a great person to ask about this just because of the scope of your consulting work. So my first leading question into this is, are you like us, and are you a sufferer of imposter syndrome?
I would be willing to bet I'm worse. I grew up with a very unhealthy relationship with failure and humility. I think that's really where it starts. Humility in the sense of not accepting the gifts that you're given. We're all uniquely given gifts, right? We're good at some things, we're bad at other things. It's just the way it goes. But I grew up in a very conservative household. I don't think it's wrong that it wasn't intentional, but just taking compliments was hard. And so very quick to flip that. And then my fear based on rejection of failure, those two things were kind of the foundation of my imposter syndrome. And the desire to be accepted by so many people, I would put people on pedestals very quickly. And as soon as they were up there, it dramatically impacted how I showed up. You said authenticity? Absolutely. One of my, I would say probably one of my core values, but the challenge is living authentically.
Yeah.
With that fear of rejection in the back of my head.
Because it's so easy to get lost in all those opinions, all those perspectives, all that pressure, all that expectation. And the more you can be anchored in your knowledge of self and what your skills are and what your values are, that's something you can trust.